have the basket right here. We will gather up and all that goodness. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's do that one. There you go, sir. Thank you. All right. As always, there's online giving if you like that. I will be honest, if you do online giving and stuff, it is so much easier because at the end of the year, you don't have to wait for me to figure out who's given what to get your papers and stuff for taxes and all that. I actually feel a little bit better today about this sermon. I've been feeling off with doing things the way we've been doing them. All right, so, and I will apologize to David later, but I'm going to begin to steer a little bit off to the side and whatnot. I actually took his outline, the ideology behind it. All right, and we're gonna remain in that because it really does speak to my heart in this time as we build up and lead to Mother's Day to present a evangelical sermon about the resurrection of Jesus, because technically we should have already been done with this. All right, but the Lord knew me before and knew what I was going to choose to do, and so he made room to for anything like that. So we're actually going to begin moving over into the Garden of Gethsemane. All right. Last week we talked about how when Jesus came, he broke down the religious and societal norms of the day. And, from talking about the turning over of the tables and the money changers, which was really crazy to me because I actually had no idea that that's exactly what was going on until I never actually studied into it. I just he just braided a whip and kicked the people out of his temple. They weren't worshiping, that's how I saw it. I was like, you ain't worshiping? Get out. You're not doing right by my Father. Get out, but I never quite understood the depth of it, what was going on, because I didn't know that the money changers were charging a bunch of money, making them do all that stuff. I had no idea, to the level and degree of evil that was going on in the house of the Lord. All right, no idea. So when I saw, I was like, wow, that goes way deeper, and I love that part. This is what's so good is I love having all these sermons and everything, and I can see how David brings it down and where he goes and how much of stuff that I don't think to go behind. All right, because I'm all about digging deep. I'm all about learning what was the societal norms, historical stuff. What kind of things did they deal with in the day, and I'm all about that. But there's just certain things that I pass over, right? That D is like, boom, right there, and it's like, dude, I never thought about that before. Never thought to go back and find out why exactly Jesus was so upset. Why he flipped all the tables, why he whipped them out. Never. All right? All I knew is he did all that and he didn't sin. That's the only thing that made sense. How God walked in his house and was like, get out, and never sinned. Braided the whip, whipped at people, and you could tell, all right, because we all we have is words. So in my head, it all gets made into a movie, and it's like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I see Jesus doing the Harrison Ford thing, Indiana Jones, whoosh, whoosh, and it's like, dude, that's intense, and he didn't sin. All right. So anyways, we talked about that last week. All right, we're building up to something. All right, we're looking forward to the resurrection of Jesus in the scriptures. All right, well, this is where I have the hardest time of anything, is that deep down in my mind and everything, I go to this whole thing. Everybody in this room knows that Jesus came back, but not everybody understands why. Not everybody understands the things leading up to it. All right, what actually was going on, yes, in the physical, but what is happening in the spiritual realm of things. And so I felt the need to step away from these outlines and to hit them myself, all right, to do what I can only say this is what God leads me to do, is to go into the scriptures, to seek them out for myself, and to pray about them and know what he is trying to convey here. Because I know that when I'm reading these, I can see David, I can see his heart, I can see his mind, and I can see F-Hop. All right, the application of the DNA that is slightly different, ingrained into resurrection, but different in the way that Brother Barry mentioned something last week, and we both went to him about it, that this is still spiritual streams in that way, the DNA and everything that's still there, and that we changed the name and all that stuff. And so we had to remind him, like, no, you don't understand. Resurrection is a glorified spiritual streams. It's spiritual streams better, right? When Jesus died, right, he died so that something could happen, so that we could all have salvation. All right, he died for our sins so they'd all be paid for. Spiritual streams had to die so that something could happen, not just in us, not for us, but for this community. All right, and so we did. We went to him pretty harshly about it too. Like, hey, I just want you to understand. I mean, when I went out, I was like, I just want you to know that we understand and we know and we stand with the DNA and the roots of spiritual streams here. But we know that in order for spiritual streams to have grown and to done something new, I mean, look at the room. Just look at the room. If you had been here in 2013, and some of us were, and you looked around and you saw the 6 or 7 people. It was September of 2013 that I came home. And it happened right after. You didn't go to Lakeland in 18. You went in 2008. Yes, you went to Lakeland in 2008. Trust me, I would have gone. Trust me. Like, that haunts me to this day of not ever experiencing Lakeland when I could have. No, it's fine. But, no, you're good. But yes, if you would have been here in 2013 and you look around now, I mean, there was a handful of us and they were still shedding off, right? And so as we have been faithful to God and what he had said about this house and whatnot, we have walked this out. And so anyways, that's not even part of this. I'm sorry. That's not even part of this. That's just a thing that has really hit me lately about that was that who we are now, all right? And it's not that it's like, oh, we're not resurrection, we're not whatever, we are better, all right? The Lord is doing a new thing, right, with the same people, with the same heart, with the same desire that it has always been. Number one, to see the glory of God, to seek revival, and to know him and to make him known. And number two is to see this city saved, to see this city transformed. And that has never changed. All right? We may have taken a break. We may have taken a break, but that has never changed. That has always been the heart. And now we get to show them in a new way who Resurrection Church is. They've forgotten some of them. Now, I'll tell you, that name is still there. Spiritual Streams is still heavy in this community. All right? When I talk to people and I'm like, I'm over at Resurrection. Oh, the old Spiritual Streams place. Yes. Is that lady still there? Nope. Anyway. All right, so today, all right, we're going to talk about something that is very, very near to my heart of Jesus and the things that occurred before he is taken to the cross. All right, and we're going to begin. Actually, the sermon itself started at Gethsemane, but we're going to step back a little bit because there's some important things that I want to be understood about the Last Supper. All right, and I think it's really it really paves a little bit of understanding leading into Gethsemane. All right, because when we get into Gethsemane, we're like, oh well, Jesus is just crying. Yes, yeah, he's doing a lot more than that, but you know, we understand there's things that have taken place, things that had to happen in order for it to get set up this way. All right, so this is the turning point. All right, this is week 6 of the series. This is the turning point of everything. We've talked about Jesus. We've talked about the kingdom. We've talked about how that applies to us. All right, we've talked about what it looked like, and we talked about how he broke everything. All right, the world was broken up in that moment. All right, when Jesus came. Okay, as the theologians would say that the disciples and Jesus turned the world on its head. Right, so. The main point, love willingly walks towards suffering to save others. All right? This is the turning point. This is where Jesus not just shows love, compassion, and all that stuff, but shows his love in willingness to suffer for it. All right? This is where we begin to see the more human side of Jesus and the struggles that he understands that you and I deal with. All right, to the extent that we could never imagine. All right, and so we're going to walk into that, and I'm going to take all three gospels, well, the main gospels, all right, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and we're going to walk through each of those accounts and how they differ and what was specific about them. All right, because one thing that's only mentioned in Luke is just gonna mess your mind up. All right, I know it does mine. Love chooses the cross before it ever wears a crown. All right? We focus now on the turning point of history. All right? Not just history, but his story. We begin at the Passover meal. And this Passover meal, if you've ever read about a Passover and all that stuff, there's a certain way that everything occurs, all right, from the beginning of sundown all the way to the sun up of the third day, all right? Everything happens accordingly, okay? So one thing you have to understand is that this is like the day before, all right? When Jesus comes in, when they have the Last Supper, they just think that they're having a normal dinner. They don't quite understand, all right? So they're like, oh, well, let's prepare all the stuff that we're going to prepare for the Passover meal. So they prepare everything that they're going to prepare for the Passover meal except the one thing. What is that one thing? The lamb. All right? Because it's not yet time. It's not yet time for the lamb to even have been slain. The slaying of the lamb happens the next morning. All right? Keep that in mind as we walk forward in these next couple weeks, that the slaying of the lamb had not happened. So this Passover meal, this Last Supper, is different from anything they've ever experienced. We're already breaking down the religious rules. All right? We're already breaking down so many things about the Sabbath and what you can do and what you can't do and what's free and what's not. And Jesus goes a step further, and he brings his disciples in, and he says, hey, we're gonna have a Passover meal. And they're like, well, Jesus, that's not till tomorrow night. And he says, no, we're going to have a Passover meal. All right? I want to eat with you before everything is to happen. All right? So we're going to start in Matthew 26. Let's see if I can do this justice with this sideways. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like it. Turn. Thank you. All right. Starting in verse 17. Now on the first day of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus saying, where will you have us prepare for you to eat the Passover? And Jesus said, go into the city to a certain man and say to him, the teacher says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Jesus had directed them, and they prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he reclined at the table with the 12, and as they were eating, he said, truly I say to you, one of you will betray me. And they were very sorrowful and began to say to him, one and after another, "Is it I, Lord?" He answered, "He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born." Judas, who would betray him, answered, "Is it I, Rabbi?" He said to him, "You have said so." Now as they were eating, Jesus took bread, and after blessing it, he broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body." And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which I poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink again of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." All right, we're going to stop right there. So, one thing that is definitely different here, all right, that would have thrown them off is, number one, the drink, the wine that they had before them. On a normal Passover, you all had your own. To each your own. Everyone had their own little drink, okay? And in that, the way that it breaks down is that these are for the blessings. This is to remember the covenant and all that stuff. And what changes here is that he takes it and he says, "This is my covenant. This is my blood. This is what I'm going to do for you." And as he has them all drink of it, it changes the way the covenant works, is that they're all together in one covenant under him, right? And so small things that begin to change. I mean, the disciples, obviously, they have no idea, but they're, I can only imagine their thoughts like, this is a little bit different. Why is he saying things like this? What does it all mean? How is our Lord saying this to us now? And what does it mean that he changes it? All right. And he gets to tell them later. All right, so that's Matthew. Let's go over to Mark. You'll find Mark's remembrance in Mark 14, starting at verse 17.
Don't start reading yet.
I'm not reading. Not yet. I know it's a lot easier when I have my phone and all that stuff, because I can just click, 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 click. All right. All right. I got told last week that we weren't heavy enough in Scripture. So, one thing I wanted to do was in case I wanted to make sure we read a lot of Scripture. All right? Not a lot, but enough to cover everything. And when it was evening, he came with the 12, and as they were reclining at the table and eating, Jesus said, "Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." They began to be sorrowful and to say to him one after another, "Is it I?" He said to them, "It is the one of the 12, one who is dipping bread into the dish with me. For the Son of Man goes, it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better that man was not been born." And as they were eating, he took bread, and after blessing it and broke it, gave it to them. "Take this, this is my body." He took a cup, and when they had given thanks and gave it to them, they all drank of it. And he said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly I say to you, I will not drink again of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it in new in the kingdom of God." All right, small things already, as you start to see where Mark is remembering things just slightly different. He does remember that it's everyone. Everyone is wondering who it is, but he doesn't point out who. All right? He doesn't point out that it's Judas. He doesn't point out any of that stuff. He may not have even noticed. All right? Because if you look at the recollections in a complete series of looking at them, as we're going to do kind of, they're still confused when he says, "Go and do what you need to do and make it quick." And it says that they just thought that he was going to get the lamb so that they might purchase the lamb, because he's the treasurer, he's the one with the money. He's going to go purchase the lamb, and no one thinks anything of it, right? I mean, some of the renditions and stuff that we see on TV, everybody's like, he fed him and Satan entered him and he ran out. You know, the Bible series was kind of funny about that, was like, the one whom eats of this bread, and he places it in Judas' mouth, and he coughs it out and all that stuff. I mean, it's really crazy. But everyone in the room is like, oh, it's him. And it's more noticeable. No, not at all. Jesus, his love, his perfect love, was so much so that nobody knew that Judas was the betrayer. Matter of fact, as you will see in the garden, they're even confused that he's even there. They don't even know why. They actually still don't realize that he has betrayed them. They just see him come and give him a kiss. A normal greeting. All right? Nobody knows until it's all said and done. Nobody knows until he hangs himself, until everyone knows that he's the one that betrayed. It's really crazy to note that, right? Is that even all the way up to his betrayal and beyond, nobody knows. All right, some of these recollections are written 10, 15, 20, 30 years after the death of Jesus Christ, all right? Death and resurrection, as you look at the timelines and everything. And I would even submit to you that until Judas went off and hanged himself, they really didn't know. Well, they knew in the upper room, right? They had found out. But they're like, never would have known. Never would have known. And I think even Jesus has to tell them, like, you know, he betrayed me. That's why he went and hanged himself. He was so sorrowful. It wasn't because of my death. It was because he led to my death, you know. And so that's when they begin to talk about what happened to him and all that stuff. But I don't know if that messes with you. I don't know if that gets you, whatever. But just the fact that he knew all along, right? He's God. He knew all along that it was going to happen. And he still took him in, right? And it's crazy because, you know, you start to think and wonder, it's like, well, did he do it just to fulfill the prophecy? I don't think so. I think the love of Christ is genuine. The love that we have, the ability to share, knowing that someone would betray you, knowing that someone would do you wrong, even knowing, and yet loving them as if nothing would ever happen, speaks huge to me, right? And the times where, you know, some people are like, you're just too nice. I could never do that. No, you could. You could find yourself doing some of the things because Jesus will let you. He will cause you to, right? And you know, I mean, I find that flattering, and I'm like, I'm really not that good. But I just want to know that people are taken care of. I want to know that they're good. I want to know that they're, you know, someone needs to be loved, you know. Like someone needs to know that someone actually cares, because there's too many people out there that are feeling isolated. You know, the enemy's got a lot of our brothers and sisters isolated. And he begins to whisper things in their ears, and he begins to tell them how they're not worth it, that they aren't the ones that were supposed to be here, that he didn't die for them, that they could never be redeemed, that their stuff is too bad, that they can't be atoned for. And so too often does that happen. And I think when we read this, when we look at Jesus and how he has walked with Judas, knowing what's going to happen, stood by his side, prayed over him, blessed him, protected him, and even at the moment of his betrayal, doesn't make a big fuss about it. He just lets it go on by. You know, he does when he leaves and everything and no one knows anything, he's not like, by the way, that was the guy. Just so you all know, he's the guy. And he's like, no, he doesn't go on that, right? If we had Facebook then, it would be like, Judas betrayed me tonight. So you all know, when I am murdered, it was him. No. Not not happening. He wouldn't. He just wouldn't. That's the craziest thing. He wouldn't throw it out there like that. And so it's a thing for me when I look at that, and it's like, man, because I know people. You know, we know people. We know when we get close to people. We know their style. We know their abilities. We know the darkness that can move within them. We know the enemy will use them. And yet that should never prevent us from loving them. And it should never prevent us from trying to gather with them. And should never prevent us from bringing them in and showing them the love of Christ. And so that right there was just the big thing for me. All right. Let's look at what Luke says about it. All right. If you'll go to Luke chapter 22. And I'll wait for you because it's right there at verse 7, beginning at verse 7. Should be like, on some people's things, should be like 3 or 4 pages over. No one has that tiny of writing. All right. Then came the day of unleavened bread on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the Passover for us that we may eat it." They said to him, "Where will you have us prepare it?" "Behold, when you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house that he enters and tell the master of the house, 'The teacher says to you, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you a large upper room furnished. Prepare it there." And they went and found it just as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover. And when the hour came, he reclined at the table and the apostles with him. And he said to them, "I have earnestly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God." And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he said, "Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I tell you that from now on I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And likewise the cup after they had eaten, saying, "This cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood. But behold, the hand of him who betrays me is the one is with me on the table. For the Son of Man goes as it has been determined, but woe to that man whom he has betrayed." And they began to question one another, which of them could it be who was going to do this? A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was regarded as the greatest. And he said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. For who is the greater, one who reclines at the table or one who serves? Is it not the one who reclines at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves. You are those who have stayed with me in my trials, and I assign to you, as my Father assigned to me, a kingdom, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." Okay. Luke doesn't even mention him. Doesn't even mention pointing out who it was. Right? And I know Luke wasn't there. Right? Luke is a physician, and he's writing all these things. He came in under Paul, and he's writing all these things as accounts of people who had remembered it. But not one person, right, that he interviews has any remembrance of the person who betrayed Jesus at that moment, at that time. Right? Crazy. But they do remember trying to see who's going to be leader after Jesus is dead. They took that part in like, okay, well, you're gonna die, but who's taking over when you're gone? Right? And he has to humble them. Right? Not one of you are ready. Not one of you are ready. Okay. So we go from the Last Supper and we move to the garden, right? It's coming time. It's coming time to when they're supposed to be preparing that lamb, all right? They're getting it fed. They're giving it its last meal. They're getting it ready to be slain, okay? These timelines, and I know the time frame and everything is not by accident that it happens that way. It's so crazy. Like when you look at it and you're like, wow. Like the way that the Passover was prepared, the way that Jesus is taken along and tried, right? There's some trying and stuff of the lamb that to make sure that it's pure. There's some other trials and stuff they put it through to make sure that it is the best, okay, for the slaughter, all right? And all these things are happening like almost within the exact timing of the Passover lamb being slain and Jesus being taken into custody, being talked to by the Sanhedrin, and then being tried. All right? So all these things are lining up. And then, as it would be, that at the time that the sun rises, right, when Jesus says it is finished, that's the time when they're slaying the lamb. It's all so crazily in tune that it doesn't, like, it's like fiction. You know, you're like, there's no way except through God, right? That he would set everything up the exact way it would be from the Levitical law when they said that they would do the Passover and how it's all done, that it would happen exactly that way for Jesus. All right? So we find ourselves at the turning point, and I'm not going to make you step back yet, so we're going to stay in Luke 22, and we're finding ourselves in the turning point where Jesus, I had this joke in my head earlier of like, God, your humanity showing, right? When Jesus has a moment where his human side is trying to claw out, right? Don't want to do this, all right? So we find him in Gethsemane, and he came out and went, and as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. And when he came to the place, he said to them, pray that you may not enter temptation. And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, saying, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he arose from prayer, he came to the disciples and found them sleeping for sorrow. And he said to them, why are you sleeping? Rise and pray that you may not enter into temptation. All right? So, this is the only one that talks about blood. All right? The sweat of blood. All right? This is the only recollection. And it's pretty funny because it's the physician that is annotating this. All right? Because he knows what's going on here. All right? He has an understanding of what's going on here. I don't know if they quite know per se, all right, but there is actually a condition, all right, in which your body can be so stressed that you sweat blood, all right? So in this moment, all right, and the way my mind does things, like I said, I play movies in my head, and in this moment, I can see, you know, I really wanted to do something like throw up the little flashes of what was going to happen. The flash of the nine tails, the flash of the cross, the flash of the kicking, the beating, the flash of the thorns. And I believe that he was already realizing the things that were to come, the things that were going to happen, the things that had to partake. And the flesh is crying out, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want this. It's not worth it. But Jesus, strengthened by the by the Holy Spirit, strengthened by his deity, says, no, there's no other way, right? He knows this. It's not an empty prayer. The flesh speaks out and says, let this cup pass from me if there's any other way. And then almost instantly, the deity pulls back in and says, no, but not my will, but yours be done. And he already knows. He already knows what's about to happen. He already knows what he's going to go through. And in that moment, he chooses us, chooses you, chooses me. Because he knows that without it, there's nothing else. There is no atonement that can be used. There is no way that you can be good enough. There is no way that you or I can follow enough rules. There is no way. And so he says, let it be so according to your will. Let it be unto me. And he takes that upon himself. He made this decision there in the moment. We already knew. He always knew. I mean, he could not have not known. But it is now that time. And the thing that he has always known, the way that he has always, I would assume that he's always been like, oh man, it's getting closer, right? He becomes more and more sorrowful. He knows that there's no other way, and he knows what he's going to have to do. And he still chooses to do it. I mean, he could have fled. He could have gone anywhere else, right? He could have chose this time not to go to the garden. He could have gone somewhere else, and they would have been looking for him all night. Eventually, I'm sure they would have found him, eventually. But Jesus got away before, slipping out and through the crowds without anyone noticing. All right, we know he can do it. We know that he can avoid people. There's many a times where he's off on his own. No one knows what's going on, So we know he knows how to avoid people. And yet he walks into the one place that he knew that Judas would know he'd be there. His normal prayer place, right, where they've always gone. And so he presents himself ready to be sacrificed, ready to be that lamb, ready to be that atonement. All right? He doesn't think twice, right? Let's read these other accounts real quick, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. All right, so jump back to Mark 14. And we're going to begin in verse 32. It's written on your heart. It's written on your heart. Got to get these girls some Bibles, I tell you what. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I was like, I got their phones. Their phones have Bibles on them. You don't have a Bible on your phone? What? Oh, all right. Wednesday night, first thing, we're getting Bibles on your phone. Everybody has their phone on them all the time. It's somewhere within your grasp. I know. So, we're at Mark 14, verse 32. And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, sit here while I pray. And he took with him Peter, James, and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch. And going a little further, he fell on the ground and prayed, if it were possible, the hour might pass before him. And he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will. And he came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the third time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking a rest? It is enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." All right? 3 times. All right? Luke only remembers or writes about the intensity, all right, of it. His desire of conveyance is of how intense the prayer was. But Mark's like, no, he when he said, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing, he wasn't talking to the disciples. He wasn't talking about the disciples. He wasn't even really kind of, I mean, he rebukes them for not being able to stay awake. He does. But he's not surprised. And he's like, you guys were supposed to help pray with me. I need that strength right now because my flesh is crying out. And my soul says, no, I'm going to do this. Let's jump over to Matthew 26. Yep. And we're going to be at verse 36. Verse 36. We're in Matthew chapter 26, verse 36. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak." Again, for the second time, he went away and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." And again he came and found them sleeping, and their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words again. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Sleep and take your rest later on. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." Praying until the flesh lined up with the spirit. Right? The purpose of it all, the reason why they keep saying is, it says, keep on praying, keep on knocking, keep on asking. Right? Jesus wasn't just talking to us. He wasn't just talking to a couple people on a hill. He was talking to his own soul too. He's talking to his own body like, okay, keep on praying until your soul lines up, or your flesh lines up with your spirit. All right? Because we know that the spirit is lining up with God. Let's see if I can pull this up quickly now. So as he said, "Father, if there's another way, if there be any other way." And he knows. He just does. He knows. I can't fathom the extreme. I don't think that he was fearful. I think it was just like, when you get up and you're like, I just don't want to do this today. I just don't want to today. And I mean, to the extreme, like, if you know what's going on, if you know what's going to happen that day, if you've been, when I know I got things planned and I'm like, I just really don't want to do that, but I have to, right? And we get to see this. I've never been asked to be killed. I've never been asked to sacrifice myself in any way like that. And yet we have an understanding of the to a certain degree of what Jesus is going through, that he went through in this moment, that we all know. You don't want to get up out of bed this morning. You don't want to do this. You know it's going to stink. You know it's going to be awful. But you got to do it anyway, because there's no other way, right? For some of us, that's the job. We're like, I just don't want to do this today. I know that. I know what I have to do, and I know I'm not going to like it, and I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to be awful. It's going to, I'm going to be upset about it. I know that I'm going to be in pain over it. I know. I could just stay at home. And then you're like, no, I can't. I got bills to pay. Right? I got bills to pay. And I know that's like a quarter of a millionth of the way that Jesus is getting it. But that's the only way we can understand it. That's the only way we can look at it. The only way that we can place ourselves in his shoes is, I don't know anyone in this room that has had to make a decision so drastic that they didn't want to do, but they knew it was the only way to do it. That it was the only way for us or someone to be good, right? To get in a good standing with something. I don't think anyone in this room knows anywhere near that, right? So I go into work. I know these things are going to stink. I know that I don't want to do some of these things. I know my body's going to hurt. I know that it's going to take forever. Things aren't going to go my way, this and that. I know all the things that are going to happen, and I just don't want to. But I know I have to. Because if I don't, one, they're not going to get what I've already promised them. Two, I'm not going to get what I was supposed to get, right? I'm not going to get paid. And then if I don't get paid, my bills don't get paid. If my bills don't get paid, I'm out on the streets, right? There's no good. But we see this, right? This is not weakness, right? This is not a weakness in Christ. This isn't him just being weak. This is honesty. This is if there was any other way, he would have done it, right? If it could have been handled any other way, God would have done it. But we see that from the moment that the fall happens, it always had to happen. It always had to play out this way. So he's not pretending to be human in this moment. He is fully human. And he felt it fully, completely, and unfiltered. And this is why it changed everything. That Jesus didn't lose control, right? He didn't just get got by the enemy. He gave up. He gave in. He made the sacrifice. Like I said, he could have gone anywhere else, knowing where Judas was going to search, knowing where it was. He knows his teacher. He knew where he would be at that time, as was his custom, right? As was normal for Jesus, he was there in the garden. So Judas knew exactly where to look. We all have moments like this. Not a cross necessarily, but a crossroad. Moments where obedience costs something, where God's will and our will collide. And if you haven't yet, you will. Right? If you haven't met your cross, or if you haven't met your Gethsemane, your moment where God is saying, it's got to be my way or no way. If you haven't, you will. All right? And I pray for a lot of us, because I know that, just like the breaking of bread and the order of breaking of bread, it can happen multiple times in our lives, and I pray that it only happens once. All right? Because this right here, this moment, this agonizing moment where he knows that if he doesn't do this, none of us have a chance. Right? He knows that if it's not him, it won't be anyone else. Right? There is no second runner-up man, second sacrifice. There is no temporary fix to this. It's all or nothing. It's Jesus or nothing. As we build up, leading to Mother's Day, all right? We got 2 weeks. Okay? Next week is the Fellowship of Churches, right? Next Sunday at Antioch Church. I had wanted to do a major push and try to get out into the community and bring some people, but the 2nd is not going to work. The 9th is not going to work. All right? We just don't have it, because we have the 2nd being I'm busy. I can't, that's Gideon's birthday, so it's going to be a busy day for me. The 2nd won't work. We could do it after church next week. Nope, that's the thing, the fellowship. We can still, and I would suggest that we still do the fellowship here, the lunch, right? Because that's the first weekend. It's the first weekend of the month. We do the fellowship here. We do the potluck. And then those who are able and willing to go, we can all roll over to Antioch after that. All right, and they're changing it up a little bit for our fellowship's sake, to make it snacks and stuff. So if we eat here, we don't have to worry about bombarding their little snack club, right? Because it kind of is that. All right, but it's all going to be more turned towards the fellowship, so everyone gets to do that, and not everyone has to make something, do without fellowshipping and stuff, because we all like to hang out with each other, and then the next week, the 7th, 8th, and 9th is women's conference. I got you in. Everything's good on your side. Yep, she's coming. I don't know if you could go, could you? That's 7th, 8th, and 9th.
I now have 20 people that report to me, so.
Oh, Lord. That's a lot. Okay. Probably not so much, huh? All right, so the 9th is when they will come back, all right, which is the Saturday before Mother's Day, which is not looking good because everyone's going to be wiped, all right? So this is where this boils down to, all right? We know we do this every Mother's Day. We know that we have a big thing. The city pretty much knows we have a big thing, that we do this, all right? All the other churches know. Some people in the community know. I've been passing around things for everyone to come. That Sunday, Mother's Day, is the moment to bring the people you've been praying for. All right? Nobody's given me a list. I have some people on there. No one's given me a list, but that's okay, because God knows who they are. All right? We've been praying right here every Saturday for these people, whoever they're going to be. Bring them. You know that they're not saved, or you have some thought processes that's possible that they may not know the Lord. Bring them. Tell them they get pictures. You know what I'm saying? Tell them they get free pictures. Talk to the mamas. All right? Talk to the mamas. Talk to the papas. Talk to them because, like, hey, man, you know, you don't have to do anything crazy on Mother's Day. Just get a whole family photo. Come on over to the church. Hear a nice little sermon. Small sermon. Straight to the point. Get a picture. Even if the preacher's not that good, go down and get your picture while the preaching's going on. Whatever. I'm not worried about it. The big thing is you got in here. You came. You got your picture. These people who, many of them don't even know we exist, right? It's funny. It is. Because you have the two sides of the city. You have the people that all know Spiritual Streams was kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And then you have the other side that are like, what? That church is open? Yeah, dude, we didn't put a banner out front for nothing. Well, there's hardly any cars there. Well, how many times do you go to church a week? You know, like, I drive by there all the time. No cars are there. What time do you drive by? Noon, 1 o'clock. Well, we're usually gone by then. Like, you got out of church too. Anyway, it's fun. It's funny to hear because I hear it from Christians. I hear it from non-Christians. And they always give me the two sides. Either one, they were like, no, that's that crazy church. I mean, we're not so crazy. We're kind of crazy. We're a little bit crazy. That's okay. But we're not like unicorns and snakes crazy. We're not that kind of crazy, you know. So anyway, next week is going to be very busy. The following week is even busier. All right, with women's conference, ladies getting out there to get some good feeding. All right, I hear it's Lydia Moreau again, right? All right, wonderful. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I'm looking forward to really good things from that. All right. If you guys don't know, last year when the women came back, they were on fire. So I'm looking forward to even better this year. All right. And then, you know, let God do what God's going to do. If you got people, bring them on over. Hopefully, I better have my car back by then. I better have my car back by then, I tell you what, because we're going to need to do that. I am not so much sure that we'll get that done in time, the van. I'm not so sure we'll have that done in time, but it is a goal, all right, because that's a fifth. Do what? Oh, no, that's easy. That's easy. No problem. I can send that. I'm more concerned about the tags, the licensing, the registration. Is it going to pass it should pass the inspection. It drives really well. All right. I haven't drove it a couple times, but, you know, to events so that we could get these youth. Yeah. Oh, you know, I'm not worried about it. You know what I'm saying? They got to catch me on the road. But it won't be happening again. It won't be happening again until we get the tags on it. So I'm really trying hard to make that happen while still doing business and such. I am certain of that. Yeah, it's just hard for me to ask sometimes. I know. Well, no, but okay. I mean, if you say so, I don't know. I don't have it all outlined as like this is part of your job. But anyway, we will make that stuff happen. We will get this rig up and going. All right, you've seen it, right? You seen our new church van? Yeah. It's getting there, huh? Right? A little bit, just a little bit. Couple more years. She's almost there. She probably could almost touch the pedals now. She's getting there. All right, so those who are going with us, all right, Hunter, did you already do that? You already took care of that? Okay. So those that are going with us, we're going to be rolling here shortly to Ozark.
I did not tell Lily.
What?
Lily's going, isn't she?
Sure.
You got her ticket, right?
I can go buy a ticket. I will double check to make sure it's not sold out. They had 15 tickets. Okay, they had 15 tickets. We got limited to what we could hold. They're riding on their own, and so this was I don't know. DE hasn't really told me who all else is there. So we're all for family room. We're going to the movie theater to watch The Great Awakening, and D said it would change my life. So of course I'm going to hear him out and go. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not so sure, like I didn't want to open up to a whole bunch of people because the kids would be harder because it's going to be not their kind of, like not their cup of noodle kind of thing, So yeah, understanding what's going on. The birth of a nation, the revivals, and like, what is this? Why is everybody all hooting and hollering? All right. We have camps coming up after that. All right. Camp meeting following that. But that camp meeting's quite a ways away now. But be prepared. It's Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday to Saturday. Yep. Of July. Yep. Last Wednesday of July. Yeah, I know. Wednesday to Saturday, camp meeting. Big Creek's going. Big Creek's going down. All right. We may be able to bring down some of the costs. We're working on that right now because there's only like 5 of us. Because Xander's now working, so I don't think he's going to be able to get off for that. So it'll be Hayden, Nico, me, you, and Jonathan. That you're at home. Don't worry about that. Are we done recording?
No, we've been live this entire
No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm just saying. Anyway, but there's us 5. All right, going so far. If you would like to go, all right. If you would like to go, if you're interested, if you want to make it happen, all right. I will get more information on it, but I need $50 soon so that we can solidify your spot. All right. You are good. I already got your money. You're good. Yep, you're good. Trust me, I know. I've kept that in my head. She gave me that 120. All right. It's in there. I just don't know if it was ever marked or whatever because I handed it off to Grandma in the moment and talked, and it's all good. We'll work it out. It's there. It's there. What? Camps are $115 for seniors. Senior camp is $115. Junior camp is $110. And then your kids camp is $105. All right? Yeah. They're kind of expensive, but it's a whole week's worth of food and all kinds of snacks and cool stuff. We will work what?
What does it have to be in to you for the camps? What does it need to be in?
You guys let me know that they want to go. I'll get all the stuff filled out. You guys can reimburse the church. Like that's a lot easier. It doesn't have to be at any specific time because I know that there are things going on and multiple things going on. And so at the moment, we're on the honor system of I will pay back in. All right? As things go and I get closer to that, I may be able to cover a lot of it, which is what I'm trying to do, is cover a lot of it with the blessings that God has given. So... yeah. Yep. Oh, I totally get it. All right. So theirs is the third week of the whole third week of June. All right. So from like the 15th to the 21st, somewhere in there, it's a whole week. So we drop them off on a Sunday afternoon, and then we pick them up on a Saturday morning, and like we got to be there to get them out too. So, yep. Absolutely. Yep. Because I have, again, depending if Xander can make it off, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we got enough room. Yeah. Even if the whole crew went, we got everyone. All right, because we hold 8, plus bags. Yeah, and one on top. I can strap it down. I got some cargo straps. You're just gonna have to wear glasses and something, so yeah, so you don't catch the bugs. All right.